How's it going, film and TV fans? Welcome back to another review here on the Zodiac Enterprises YouTube channel. New name, same style of content. Today we are kicking off a little series that I'm going to do, which is reviewing all the Batman movies on the heels of the recent announcement that the Batman Part 2 has been delayed for like a fifth time to 2028 in February 2028. That's not a fun thing to think about, but hey, it gives me a chance to go back and watch all of the Batman movies. And of course, obviously there are some 50s and 40s serials with Batman in. I'm not too versed on the topic, and I did try to find them, and it was kind of more complicated than it needed to be. However, we are going to start with probably the best starting point for this kind of thing, and that is the 1966 Batman movie starring Adam West and Burt Ward as Batman and Robin. Now, I think I for one have never watched the TV series of which it was based off of, which it was produced just after the first season had aired on TV, I believe. But I have watched pretty much literally every other Batman movie except for this one. This was the only one going in that I hadn't seen before. So I was kind of looking forward to it because I grew up watching Batman Forever, and obviously if you haven't seen Batman Forever, that takes a lot of inspiration from the style of this movie. I think Joel Schumacher kind of, while still keeping it kind of darker in places, it still has a lot of the slapstick that this one and the TV series had. I do think this is a really fun film. I think it's really quite funny in a lot of places, and there's just a lot of high energy with it, and I think I really love the high energy. It's really great to see the Penguin and the Riddler and the Joker and the Catwoman all working together and bouncing off each other. I think they bounce off each other fantastically in the film. But I do think actually if I had to pick one that was the best, the Steam Sealer, I actually think it would be the Riddler. I think the Riddler's just like the most over-the-top fun character. I think the Joker is actually quite tame in this movie. Cesar Romero does a fantastic job as the Joker, but I actually think he's quite tame compared to the Riddler. And the other interesting fact is that the Penguin in this movie, and subsequently I believe in the TV show, was played by an actor called Burgess Meredith, who went on to play Rocky's coach in the Rocky movies. So that's a fun fact. I think Adam West is particularly quite good as Batman and Bruce Wayne. I don't think it's a particularly phenomenal or iconic performance, but I do think it is a great starting point for which obviously someone like Val Kilmer definitely took some inspiration from, and I think even to an extent you could make the same argument for George Clooney. He definitely looks the part when he's Bruce Wayne as well, although I don't think he looks so much the part as Batman. But again, I do like the costume here. It's very cheesy. It's very 60s, and I quite like that. Again, one of my favourite things about the film is that it was made in the 60s, and it has a very beautiful 60s aesthetic. And again, if you've read my letterbox review for this movie, I think the colour in this movie is absolutely gorgeous. It really pops out, I think, especially when you have the four villains on screen together. Each one of them having their obviously individual colour scheme, and they really pop. That helps, I think, bring the movie to life a lot more than I thought it was going to. But I also do think that a lot of the movie is kind of, I don't know, brought together by the supporting cast, and I think a lot of the other characters that have minor moments in the movie. I think the whole tangent with Bruce Wayne and Kittica, or whatever her name is, I don't dig that kind of B story, but I do get why it's there. I do think the real highlight of this movie is having the four villains together. They really bounce off each other, so I think I've said that already, but I do generally think it's something that I don't think going forward from this point onwards, we don't actually see the four of these characters share a movie ever again. They do. I think the Joker hasn't appeared with any of them like ever again, but obviously Catwoman and Penguin share a movie in Batman Returns, and the Riddler is in Batman Forever, and he is also in the Batman of which none of these people are in. The one interesting omission I think that we've seen is that Two-Face wasn't here. I don't know if Two-Face was in the TV show, but I think you add Two-Face in, it starts getting too much. I think you have the right balance of these characters that people recognise. I think the one that has the least to do feels like Catwoman, partly because halfway through the movie she's turned into a completely different character to full Bruce Wayne, even though it's a thing. But I don't really like to fault something like this, because it's clearly just like, it's good fun, it's wacky, interesting, well-made fun that I enjoyed myself watching it. It's really cool to see all the Bat vehicles, and I think the set design for the Batcave I also really liked as well. I think that's a pretty, it looks the part. It looks like the pseudo hideout but also chemistry lab kind of thing that I kind of really, really like, I think. But I do think the movie as a whole is just a really, really fun time. It's a great starting point for this. I think it makes me want to watch the TV show, I think, at some point, if I can find a place that it's on. It doesn't feel like made for TV, personally. I mean, I have not seen the show, but it isn't particularly scream made for TV. And I think, for me, one of those things is the huge uses of experimental shot types and framing types, and I think specifically the huge volume of Dutch angles in this movie. That's something that is clearly something Kenneth Branagh was inspired by when he made Thor, but I think it really works here because they're not so much over the other, they're not so much over each side. It actually still keep things in focus and still makes it really interesting in terms of like when it cutting between characters and the Dutch angles are flipped. I just think it's a really fantastic filmmaking technique and it's not something that personally I was expecting to see in a movie like this. That's just like silly, goofy, you know, like you can literally see when they're having fight scenes that the actors are not even punching the other actors, and I don't even think like it was bad hiding. It's meant to be part of the poking fun that this movie had, you know, the pam, bow, all those kind of things, you know, pow and bam and boom and all that kind of stuff. It's poking fun, it knows what it's doing, and I kind of really respect it for that. I do think musically as well, it's really succinct as well. I think it's a really rich 60s sounding score from Nelson Riddle that actually really works quite well, I think. And it does incorporate the TV show theme. I do believe Nelson Riddle also composed the score to the show as well. So the whole movie is kind of just like most people from the TV show came back. It was written by the guy who ran the TV show, the showrunner as well. And the only person who didn't come back was the actress who played Catwoman in the TV show. She was replaced in the movie by someone else. And then the actress who played her in the TV show came back in the TV show once the movie came out. And then someone else replaced that actress again. So the whole Catwoman thing is a really interesting side story of this whole thing. But I think the movie as a whole, it's just hugely entertaining. It's definitely one I want to rewatch a few more times and watch the show. I think it's just and it's going to be very different to everything that I'm going to be covering afterwards, because obviously it's very light-hearted and it's very colourful, which is something pretty much every film after this, with the exception of maybe Batman Forever and Batman and Robin, at a push. But even then, it's not as colourful and bright and kind of just out there as this one wants to be, and this one is, and I think I love it for that specific reason. And I do feel it's certainly a unique film in the placement of the Batman films. It wasn't one that stuck out to me, hence why I hadn't seen it before, and I think that's a shame that I hadn't gone out my way to see it. I'm a huge fan of the way films are made in the 60s and the way films look in the 60s, with the film stock and the colour and VistaVision and Technicolor. It's also, and that style, that era of filmmaking that really kind of came to a close, I think, by the end of the 60s, and obviously this was pushing the very end of the 60s, coming out in 1966. So it's really nice to see Batman and these characters shot in a way, produced in a way that, you know, it just feels so, I want to say, no, Hollywood isn't like the in term of endearment that I'm trying to make it out to be, but in such a way that feels just almost proper in a way. And I just think it's a really, really, really fun film, and I can't really fault much in it in terms of, like, I don't think I really want to comment on the script, because like it's really not taking itself seriously. I can really respect that. I don't think the script is terrible. I don't think it's amazing. I'm not one to go for script kind of stuff because it's not my forte, but I don't think there's inherently any problems there. I think there's some funny lines of dialogue, and obviously the typical kind of jokes that the show had and things like that, they land quite well. I'm aware, having done a little bit of research before watching the film, that this was the first attempt, or the first time that any kind of Batman related media, specifically, you know, the production crew of the TV show, and more so the writing room of the TV show and the writers, decided to actually directly reference, like, American politics and with the submarine and the missile plots. Is the first time that kind of stuff came up in a Batman kind of world per se. And I think having there's a character that gives the submarine to the Penguin, and the Batman kind of just, like, without directly doing it, mocks him, and then the character then picks up on that. So I think that's kind of like a dig at that kind of stuff, and I can appreciate that it's very low level and subtle here, but it's a fun film. It's a really great start to this series that I'm doing, and I can't wait to cover the rest of them. Batman is a character that I've loved to watch for as long as I can remember, and I think to celebrate that character coming all the way forward into what will be in 2 years' time, the next installment in that world, is going to be so much fun. And before I sign out, I do want to just lay down exactly what I am covering over the next couple of weeks as a Batman films, and it's not just straightforward live action. It will be Batman 1966 here, Batman 1989, Batman Returns, Batman Forever, Batman and Robin. Somewhere in between that point in time, I'll figure out directly. I can't remember what year the movie came out. Batman Mask of the Phantasm will be one that I'll be watching for the first time as well. Batman Begins, The Dark Knight Rises, Lego Batman DC Superheroes United, which is basically just Lego Batman 2 cutscenes as a movie, and I dig that movie, so that's a cool one. The Lego Batman movie in 2017, Batman vs Superman Dawn of Justice, which is a Batman movie by name, so I will be covering it. I won't be covering Justice League, or Zack Snyder's Justice League, but because Batman vs Superman has Batman in the title, and indeed is the first word of the title, I feel obliged to cover it. And it is technically the only Batman movie that has Ben Affleck in it, where he is essentially in a starring role. And of course, the Batman 2022. So I look forward to covering those movies in the coming weeks. I hope you enjoyed this review, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye bye for now.